Hi friends, Shay here. So I am here for a very overdue reading wrap up. So in this, I combine my manga log and my book reading wrap ups. They're all just combined in the one video. And this is a lot. This is about a month's worth of reading. I usually do this about every 2 weeks, sometimes a shorter amount of time. But yeah, I got behind, got distracted with other things, other videos, and kind of creatively hit a little bit of a slump. But I am long overdue to talk to you guys about some amazing things. So let's go ahead and dive right in. As per usual with the way I do these, I'm going to start with the manga and then end with the books because I usually have a lot more to say about the books. So I try to do the manga really quickly in the beginning and then jump into the book. So if you are really not here for the manga, the chapters should be broken down and you should have timestamps down below. But with that said, I hope you will still watch this because I read a lot of amazing manga. All right, so let's get this started. So I have some videos that I've wrapped up these other volumes of manga, so I'm going to tell you which ones. So first off, I want you to check out the 48/72 hour reading vlog that I did in collaboration with Izzy over at Happy For Now. I read quite a few volumes of manga in that video. I think there's 10 in that period of time. So I'm just going to briefly tell you which ones you can get my thoughts on over there. So we have Something's Wrong with This Volume 6, Sweat and Soap Volume 6, Living Room Matsunaga-san 6, Shortcake Cake 12, which is the final volume, Those Not So Sweet Boys Volumes 2 and 3, A Sign of Affection Volume 2, Night of the Ice Volume 6, Undead Unlock Volume 1, Kirby Manga Mania Volume 1, World Peace Volume 1, and Fist of the North Star Volume 1. So you can get all of my thoughts on those in that video. So definitely check that one out. It was a really solid manga reading couple of days and only a couple of books because I focused a lot more on catching up on some manga titles that you guys have been wanting to know about. So I have, I believe, 2 try 3s that I've done since my last wrap up. And that is, the first one is Our Teachers Are Dating. Really loved this one. Definitely check that out for my full thoughts. And then also Kigurumi Guardians, which I did a week or 2 ago, and that one will be linked as well. I'm not sure if the links will be in the cards or down below. There'll be links. There will be links to all the things. And that's it for videos to check out where I've already wrapped up my reading thoughts on these volumes of manga. So let's go ahead and dive into the, oh, there's one more video, sorry. I have my most recent NetGalley manga reading vlog. I believe that's the video that went up right before this one. So definitely check that out. I read 7 amazing volumes of manga, including finishing up a series. I ended up dropping a series in that video, so definitely check that one out. All right, so let's dive into the stack of physical volumes I have left. All right, so first up here, I have The Treasure of the King and the Cat. This one was really cute. There's kind of an intro story and then your main story. Really short, really sweet, a fantasy BL. I really love it. Lots of fun. Highly recommend checking it out. And then I did finish Strawberry Fields once again. This is a sweet 3-volume Yuri, in which we have a girl named Pure who's gone back in time 5 years to give the woman that she loves the love that she needed 5 years back to hopefully help them come closer together. And it's really sweet. It's really cute. It's a lot heavier than I expected it to be. And I do wish that it had maybe been 1 volume longer, just because I felt like the 3rd volume was so rushed. I wish it would have had a little more time to breathe and things. So all in all, I did really enjoy this. It's a solid 4-star series all the way through. Highly recommend. Next up, I have Sacrificial Princess and the King of Beasts, Volume 13. There are only 2 volumes left after this volume. This volume does some amazing things. We have some amazing progress happening. We have Seraphy out there championing peace between their 2 races and trying very hard to make this work, while there are people behind the scenes in the Beast Kingdom trying to upend our king. And it is so good. The art, as always, is fantastic. I'm sad there's only 2 more volumes of this series because I love it so much. But at the same time, it feels like it's coming to its natural conclusion, so I am okay with it ending. And it's only going to be a 15-volume political fantasy, so if you like political fantasies and don't want to get invested in something like Yona, where we have no idea how long it's going to be, this is a great one to try out. Next, I read volumes 5 through 12 of Queen's Quality. I'm holding volume 11 because I don't own volume 12 yet, but I am current on Queen's Quality. I love this series with so much of my being. I don't know why it took me so long to get to this. I love it so much because Kyu and Fumi are amazing. I love them as a couple. I love their teamwork. This story continues to evolve in a way that keeps me interested and invested in what's going on. This is the same mangaka that does things like Dengeki Daisy and Beastmaster. Like, they're so... I'm a huge fan of this mangaka, so I highly recommend checking out Queen's Quality. A lot of people don't like Dengeki Daisy because of the age gap element. This does not have that. They are the same age. So I think that might help a lot of people finally fall in love with this mangaka, so definitely give this one a try. All right, I also finally picked up I Cannot Reach You Volume 2. This came out recently, and I sat and read this with Maeve. We had a good time, and I really, really enjoyed this. So basically, these two boys both like each other, but they think the other person doesn't like them that way. And so it's massively frustrating to read at times, but you love them both and you just want them to sit down and have a conversation and figure it out. So it is very, very angsty, but also very, very sweet. And so, like, the push and pull here is really strong. So if you like that kind of dynamic, this is going to be a good series for you. I still really enjoyed it. Solid 4 stars. If they had had a conversation, it would have been 5 stars. But I don't know how many volumes this series is going to be, but I can't wait for them to figure it out and start to date. All right, now I have 4 volume 1s in series that I have tried. So let's go ahead and dive into those. So I've got I Swear I Won't Bother You Again, volume 1. This one's really, really cute. So this girl named Violet, we have her at the beginning of this volume. She's in jail for going after her stepsister and wanting to kill her because she had changed her life in a really negative way. But while she's in jail, she ends up somehow getting transported back in time a year to when the stepsister came into her life, and things start to change. She starts to see people around her who genuinely care about her. She doesn't go after the stepsister like she did the first time. So it's kind of like a redo. And now, of course, it's reverse harem and all the guys want her. And I'm loving it. It's so good so far. Cannot wait for the next volume. And the art is absolutely gorgeous in this one. So definitely pick this one up. This one, I love it with so much of my being. It's not even funny. So we have The Tale of the Outcasts, Volume 1. I've been sitting on this one way too long. I'm sad that I didn't pick it up sooner. This is a series in which we're following a young woman named Wisteria, who's kind of been abandoned by her brother, left with a really bad guy who claims to be a church leader, and he's getting ready to sell her off to somebody who will do whatever he wants with her. And while she's out begging on the street, because that's what she's supposed to do to give this guy money so that she doesn't get kicked out and sold off, even though she already does, this little demon guy named Marabus sees her, and he's like entranced by her. Like he's very curious about her. He wants to know about her because she can see him. Most people can't. And so they form a friendship. He comes every night and tells her stories. When he finds out what's going to happen, he tries to save her, but that would make him fall apart. And so she quickly makes a bargain with him. She gives him her eyes in exchange. And so he now has her eyes instead, and she's blind. And so he's there to kind of take care of her from there on. So it's got this like caregiver kind of thing going, but it also gives me all the Ancient Magus Bride feels. Like, it's so good. It's so good, guys. And the art style is kind of similar to Ancient Magus Bride as well, but it's not the same mangaka. So I'm definitely invested in this series, and we'll pick up every volume that comes out, and I highly recommend you guys check it out too. Next up, we have another BL, and that is Candy Color Paradox. This is one that a lot of my friends have been trying to get me to read for a long time, so I finally did. And basically, we have these two guys. They kind of work at the same place, and they're forced to work together, and things start to develop romantically between them. I don't want to say too much more because I feel like that would spoil a lot of the fun of this plot, but their dynamic is really interesting, and I'm invested at this point. I have picked up volume 2 since, and so I am intrigued to continue on with this series. And then last but not least for this manga portion is Nekogahara Stray Cat Samurai Volume 1. So this one is a bit different than I thought it was going to be. It's a little more graphically violent than I thought it was going to be. Granted, that's on me because it is samurai. I should have thought about that more. But the story is solid and fantastic, and I do think this is a great manga for someone, just not for me. So I'm going to go ahead and send this on to someone that I think will enjoy it a little bit more than I did, and I think they will have a great time with this one because it's Cat Samurai. So, like I say, it is a fun plot and it's really interesting. It's just got a little more slashy, bloody violence than I particularly like. So if you like that, definitely give this one a try. All right, with that, time to move on to the books. I'm going to start again with the videos to check out for wrap-ups, and then I'm going to do the physical reads, and then we'll do the digital reads. So, first up here in the 4872 hour reading vlog, you're going to hear my thoughts on Lothair, Changeling by Yasmin Galenorn, and A Touch of Ruin by Scarlett St. Clair. Then the next video you'll want to check out is the Priest reading vlog, because Tamika from over at Library of Tomes invited me to be a co-host for the Taboo Book Club in the month of June, and we did Priest romances. So we read Priest by Sierra Simone. I have a lot of thoughts. I did end up enjoying the book. I gave it a 4 stars, but if you want my full thoughts on the book, you can check that out, as well as the Taboo Book Club live show over on Tamika's channel. They will both be linked down below. And then the other video you'll want to check out is the Tell It Again live show for Underworld by Meg Cabot. April and I talked a lot about this. This is book 2 in the, I think it's called the Abandoned series by Meg Cabot. This is a Hades and Persephone inspired series, and book 2 was a lot of setup for book 3, I think, but it still is a really solid entry, and we had a lot of thoughts to share, so I will leave that linked for you as well. All right, let's go ahead and dive into the physical the physical books that I've read, and then we'll get into the digital ones. So first up, we have Lady Isabella's Scandalous Marriage by Jennifer Ashley. This is the sequel to The Madness of Lord Ian Mackenzie. I loved this just as much as Ian Mackenzie. Jennifer Ashley is really great. This series is really solid. I still need to pick up the next book in the series, but I am definitely invested in the future because I love the Mackenzie men. They are amazing. And this was a more like marriage in trouble. They were separated and finding their way back to each other kind of situation. Trigger warnings for miscarriage and loss of a child and what that can do to a marriage. So I'm definitely going to put that there, but it is seriously so good. I adored them. And the audio for this was fantastic as well. So check that one out. Next up here, we have The Princess Stakes by Emily Howard. Now, I know there was a lot of really early reviews like mid last year for this book, and the author went back, took the notes that they were given in those reviews, and made a lot of changes. So in this, we have a princess who gets reacquainted with one of her childhood best friends. He's a duke now. He's been pirating for a long time and is being called back to do his dukely duty, and she's trying to escape a really bad situation in her home, and they end up on the same boat, and things progress from there. So there is that. Like I say, the author did take a lot of the previous commentary on it and made changes. I think those changes were smart. I did end up giving this one a 3.5 star though, because I think those changes led to the book being a little clunky to me, and I could tell that it was severely edited and changed. So it didn't read as smoothly as probably the first round did. But overall, I'm proud of the author for making those changes, and I will continue to pick up Emily Howard books because of that. Next up, we have West End Earl by Bethany Bennett. I gave this 5 stars. This is the second book in the Misfits of Mayfair series. In this one, we have one of my favorite tropes, which is a woman who was dressing as a man to get by in a world that doesn't let women have power, and she falls in love with her boss. It's so good. It is so good, guys. Like, this is the kind of historical that I love, and this is one that stood out recently to me, so I definitely recommend checking this out, especially if you read a lot of historicals. This one will probably feel fresh and new and different, and it was amazing. I've given both of Bethany Bennett's books 5 stars so far, so definitely, like, check this out. The next book that I have here is Falling in Love on Willow Creek by Debbie Mason. This is another installment in the Highland Falls series. This is the fourth book? Third. In this one, we have Sadie Gray, who's pregnant, about to have a baby, and FBI agent Chase Roberts. He is trying to track down her brother, who's been up to some nefarious things, and they end up forming a relationship. It is so cute. He is so doting with this baby because he helps deliver this baby on the side of the road because she was out when she shouldn't be. She had to go get something. I can't remember what it was specifically. But there was an instant bond with him and her baby, and just the way that organically changes and evolves is amazing. I love it so much. Highly recommend. 5 stars, by the way. Okay, next up here, I have the next 2 installments in the Blood Bond saga by Helen Hart. So I have Undaunted and Unmasked. I am in the middle of the final book in this series. These are vampire books with a lot of trauma, lots of content warnings. Anything Helen Hart is going to have content warnings. So do know that before you enter any Helen Hart book. If you're sensitive, this is probably not an author for you, being straight up. But yes, I really have a lot of fun with these. They're each like 3.5 to 4 stars. They're not the best things I've ever read, but man, they are like catnip and candy to me. I just really enjoy her writing. This vampire saga has been really fun. Like I say, I'm in the middle of the last one right now, and yeah, I just have a good time with the series. Next up, I did try a chapter video, and in that I ended up choosing The Housekeeper and the Professor by Yoko Ogawa. I gave this book a solid 4 stars. This was beautifully written. I really enjoyed this. This tied a love of mathematics and, you know, mental health problems into a really sweet, organic love story. And I really enjoyed the dynamic for all of this. It is amazing. I love it so much. There's this whole like caretaking element to it. It almost has like a slight Beauty and the Beast vibe, because he rarely will keep his housekeepers on. Like, he usually chases them away really fast, but he didn't chase her away, and they get along really well. And it's just amazing. I love it so much. And she has a son. And when he finds out that the little boy's home alone while she's with him, he's like, nope, make that boy come here. And he's like very adamant that the boy comes and spends time with them. And so they all end up kind of organically falling into a family. It's beautiful. I love it so much. And then the last physical book I have here to talk about is Dark Song by Christine Feehan. This was a reread for me where I annotated it, and I loved it just as much the second time as I did the first time. Pharaoh and Elisabetta remind me so much of me and my husband in our early relationship that this book will always be more meaningful to me than most people. And this is a book that made me truly appreciate the man that my husband was. And it made me appreciate Christine Feehan all the more, because she gave us a hero who was willing to look like a brute to all of the people that he loves and cares about, because she needed his shield. And it's amazing. I will cry if I keep talking about this, but just know that it is a 6-star lifetime favorite. And yes, you all need to read it. All right, let's move on to the digital reads. So we have A Deal with a Demon Warrior, I believe is what it's called. This is another installment in the Immortals After Dark series. This is Declan and Regan's book. And this one is my least favorite in the series so far. I did not think Regan deserved better than Declan, I guess. There were lots of other reincarnations of Declan that she could have had that would have been a much better fit for her and her personality. So I'm just really sad that that's the decisions that were made. But, you know, Regan also deserves a happily ever after, and that's what she gets in this. So anyways, with that, just know that it's not my favorite, but it's not bad. Then we have Where Hope Comes From. This is a poetry collection, and I think if you've been feeling down in the dumps, this can feel really hopeful and really inspiring. So I definitely recommend checking out this collection. I gave it a 4-star. It was a solid poetry collection. Granted, I don't read a ton of poetry, but when I do, I really enjoy what I read. So yes, definitely check that one out. Alrighty, next up here, we have The Scot Who Loved Me by Gina Conkle. This is another one where I gave it like a 3.5 star. It's a solid historical romance, but it didn't do anything unconventional or wow me or anything. It was just middle of the road, didn't do anything too crazy, and I still ended up enjoying it, but I'm not sure how I would feel if I might enjoy it more if I weren't kind of burnt out on historicals anyway. But yeah, this one didn't stand out to me. And then I kind of had the same situation with You've Got Plaid, but this was more a 3.5, 4-star. I did enjoy this one a little bit more than The Scot Who Loved Me. Granted, I did one physically and one on audio, so I don't know if that made a difference. I thought the audio narration was good, But You've Got Plaid and is the conclusion to a series, and I think that helped. And I think The Scott Who Loved Me, I think that one was like a mid-entry in the series, so I wasn't as attached to the characters. But I've read all three in this You've Got Plaid series, and I ended up enjoying the conclusion, had a good time, would recommend. All right. Next up, let's talk about some other arcs that I got read. So I have One Week to Claim It by Adriana Herrera. This was a Harlequin Desire novel that came out recently. I really enjoyed this. The audio is how I chose to consume it, and it was absolutely fantastic. Highly recommend. It was my first Adriana Herrera, and I've heard it's one of her best, so definitely check this one out. Then we have Satisfaction Guaranteed. This one ended up being middle of the road for me. I felt like the relationship, I wasn't rooting for them as much, and I was really disappointed. Like, this one was sapphic, and so I was really excited, but yeah, it didn't hit quite right. I don't think it was as well executed as it could have been, I guess. But yeah, not my favorite. And then we have Somewhere by the Sea by Jenny Hale. This was a really solid Jenny Hale book. She does kind of those really sweet Hallmark kind of books and like Hallmark movie channel kind of books. And I really enjoyed this installment a lot. I thought I gave it a solid 4. Jenny Hale is another solid writer that I just enjoy her work. So that may cloud my judgment. I don't know. And then I have To Sir with Love by Lauren Lane. This is a modern take on a You've Got Mail type of plot. I love those kinds of plots, and I thought this one was very well executed. And I thought it was really sweet, and it was just as charming as the original movie, but I did give it 4 stars because it wasn't exactly original. A lot of the exact same beats end up happening, and so if you like You've Got Mail and those kinds of stories, this will be one that you enjoy and I would recommend. And then I have The Library of the Dead by T.L. Huchu. I didn't really end up enjoying this one. I ended up giving it like a 3-star, but it's really more of a 2-star. I was just kind of bored, and I didn't really connect with the story like I was hoping to. And I'm really disappointed because I've heard this one is so good, and I just wasn't connecting with it. So I don't know if it was just me or when I was reading it. I have no idea. So take that with a grain of salt from me, and check out other reviews that are probably going to be more detailed because I've read a lot since then. And so my brain's a little murky on that one. Then we have A Scot to the Heart by Caroline Linden. Another solid historical. I gave this one like a 3.5, 4 star as well. Again, really sweet, really fun. Nothing groundbreaking. That's kind of been my experience with historical, so you won't see me picking up nearly as many over the next while, unless it's an author that I'm like diehard for. Okay, from there, Bree from over at In 11 Words, we were having a live show, and she started talking about I Married a Lizard Man by Regine Abel. And Mariana Zapata had recommended it. And so she's like, I want to read this. I'm like, add me to a group chat. I will buddy read this with you. And since then, we have buddy read 4 different books that are all kind of a little bit bonkers. So let's dive into them. First up, I Married a Lizard Man. So essentially, this is about a humanoid woman who lives on a planet where they focus on farming, and she's a 3rd daughter, so she can't like make a good political marriage. She won't have land to her name, and so she's been at this dating service, kind of like the general anybody can use it government mating, you know, dating agency kind of thing. And she ends up paired with a lizard man. Their people were previously enslaved, and so they don't farm. They feel like it's backbreaking work. They lost so many of their people that they're kind of salty about farming at all. But their race is dying off because their planet's being overrun with tourists and things like that. And so the matchmaker is what I'm going to refer to him as, kind of puts them together, hoping that she can help save his race. And she is a boss lady. We love her. We love her smarts because she was really smart about how she did everything. And this book was 5 stars. This book was amazing and fantastic, and I highly, highly, highly recommend. So I'm going to say thank you to Bree for recommending these, and there's a couple others that we've done together that I've really ended up enjoying. The next one is The Mistwalker by the same author, Regine Abel. In this world, wishes and nightmares can gain strength enough to gain a corporeal form to meet up with their human creators. And in The Mistwalker, we have a wish who's like the embodiment of everything this woman has ever wanted in her life. and he's in love with her and he wants to pursue her as his mate. And the way that this goes down is really interesting because she's initially very afraid of him, but she starts to really fall in love with him, but she's afraid that he's not choosing her because he's choosing her, but he's choosing her because she created him to do that. And so the discussions that they have around that are amazing. Highly recommend. Solid 4 stars, maybe 4.5. I really did enjoy it, and it's kind of staying in my mind. But the sequel to that, The Nightmare, definitely 5 stars. This one is where a nightmare has come and gained corporeal form, and he really wants to please her, but she had a really like traumatic and abusive kind of past. And so she kind of had that in her dreams where she wanted to be punished. She blamed herself for like her parents breaking up and things. And so that kind of evolved over time between the two of them. But now he's kind of being recruited by the like government agency that hunts down the really bad nightmares. And so they need a nightmare strong enough to take this guy down. And so it's really interesting. I really love it so very much. 5 stars. Love them. Love the world. Love the story. If there's any more in this series, I'm definitely going to check them out because man, so good. And then the last one from this group chat with Bree was Tangled Wires by Lillian Lark. Now, this is not as sweet and fun as the other kind of bonkers ones that we've read. This one was a lot darker, more heavy hitting, more of a Mia Sheridan style book where this woman, she's had very severe depression. There's talk of suicide on page graphically, so do tread cautiously if that is a trigger for you. But in this one, essentially, she always has kind of had depression issues and had to ride that wave. And her dad wanted to leave his legacy to someone, so he built an AI to take over his company. And so she feels like this AI has replaced her. But in all reality, like this AI, like loves her and wants to take care of her. So he's this pining hero. He is a caretaker, a caregiver for her. The dynamic was so amazing. But yeah, if you like Mia Sheridan and those darker titles where they're harder hitting, this one is definitely for you and I would highly recommend. Again, solid 4 stars for me. And Lillian Lark has a couple of other books that I'm very interested in. She does have a very dark and taboo one that I may try. But the other one, I think it's called 3 of Hearts, where it's like a harpy, a demon, and something else all walk into a bar, and it's like a throuple. So I definitely want to try that one. I've got 2 more to talk about. So I've got The Ringmaster by Brianna Hale. I finally read a Brianna Hale. Gave it a solid 4 stars. Really ended up enjoying this. This would have been a 5 star. But there's a thing that happens towards the end that involves a trope that I don't like. And the way that the guy, the hero, was about it made me not root for him so much as the hero, and I struggled with that a lot. So that's why I gave it 4 instead of 5, but I will definitely be picking up more Brianna Hale in the future. And then last but not least here, we have The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. Now, I chose to do this on audio. This is a sapphic political fantasy inspired by Indian culture, and there are multiple, like Priya and Malini, the 2 women in the relationship. There's color differences between them. Priya is very dark, Malini is lighter, and Malini was a princess. Priya was of the race that was basically enslaved by Malini's people. And this was so intricate and so dark and so good. I'm very highly invested in the future of this series. Tasha Suri is an author that I've really fallen in love with this year, and I'm definitely looking forward to more in this particular series. This is her most recent release, and in this, basically, Princess Malini, her brother, is a tyrant, and he's using religion to rule and to do whatever he wants. So he tells her she has to burn on a pyre for, to be cleansed or whatever, but we all know that he's just being an idiot and wants complete power. So she refuses to burn, but her lady servants do. And what happens is he exiles her to this place far in the country, and Priya works at the house where she is exiled to. And she's basically kept in this old temple where Priya was actually born. Malini is. Malini's kept in this temple where Priya was born, but Priya hasn't been up there for a very long time because the temple children that lived there were all burned except for 3, I believe. And it's really interesting, really intriguing. There's so much political maneuvering and, you know, wanting freedom from the racism that they're experiencing. It is beautifully written, very well handled all the way through. You definitely see both sides of the situation and what needs to happen. And it's amazingly done. 5 stars. I love Tasha Suri so much. If you're looking for an author that, you know, doesn't write white privileged people, definitely pick up Tasha Suri. Her writing is amazing and I highly recommend. So with that said, this wrap up has been forever long. I'm very sorry. I won't let it go this far again, and I will see you guys in the next one. If you made it to the end of this video, send me a picture of a drink because I'm very, very thirsty right now. I'll see you guys later. Bye.